sustainability and biodynamics, both of which we were experimenting with in the vineyard at the time. And so we were one of the very first wineries that I believe achieved a SIP certification.
First year?
And it has a lot to do, obviously, with what we're doing out in the vineyard, but it also incorporates the overall business plan and our employee treatment in terms of continuing education and benefits. So it's a program that really goes beyond just vineyard practices and kind of encompasses the entirety of the business and the sort of the intentions going forward. So we've always say, sort of jokingly, but it's also sort of true, this property's on the 100-year plan, and the SIP program really pairs well with that, with the idea that we're really cultivating this place to be an ecosystem that's going to continue. We're not trying to deplete any resources while we're out here working in the vineyard. So in terms of water and pest management, those are kind of the broad terms I think about when I'm thinking about the SIP program in the vineyard. And essentially, with water, we're autonomous. You know, we're using water from on site. We have our own water table. We're pulling from wells on site. But overall, we're looking to very minimally apply water to really encourage the vines to essentially take care of themselves with what's available to them in terms of precipitation and in terms of water in the soil. And then you'll notice as we're walking around, there are some details just in terms of the way we manage the land here. So if you look up on the hillsides, you'll notice right now we have straw bales on all of the roadways. And what's going to happen is right before it starts really raining this year, we're going to spray that or spread that straw out on all the roadways, and that mitigates erosion. So we're not going to experience extreme erosion, both in terms of the vineyard, because that can be bad for the vines, but in terms of the environment here, we want to mitigate that and sort of let natural processes happen, because there would normally be obviously foliage on those hillsides, and so by covering the roadways that way, we create just a circumstance that's a little closer to what's natural on the hillsides. And then in the vineyard soon, we're actually going to be planting a cover crop between the rows, and that'll essentially bind up some water and nutrients, so that as spring starts to come around, we'll turn that under and give those nutrients, everything that was stored in that cover crop, back into the soil, both for the vines, but also for the health of the vineyard as a whole, the land as a whole. And then in terms of pest management, I'll talk a little bit about that. I mentioned the beneficial gardens while we were down on the airstrip, but we're also kind of trying to encourage those predator populations throughout the vineyard. So there are raptor perches, you'll notice them like dotting out in the vineyard, and then we have owl boxes that we put in place last year. I believe we have maybe 18 owl boxes, and generally we're seeking to have about 2/3 of those owl boxes occupied. A family of barn owls, just as an example, over the course of the year will consume something like 3,000 rodents. And so you can imagine just having, say, 12 owl families on the property, how much a difference that makes in terms of squirrels, which are our major rodent pest in the vineyard. And essentially the reason for that is that the size of the vineyard creates a giant food source for these animals. So you get a population that's totally out of control as a result. And so by encouraging predators to take up residence, we also start to mitigate those populations that are wild as the result of the size of the planting, essentially. And the squirrels will eat the green growth on the vineyard. You'll notice corners of the vineyard that look like they never mature. They just look young all the time. And it's because those rodents are coming in from outside the fence line and eating the green growth off those vines. And they'll also eat the fruit during harvest. So you can watch our vineyard manager's eyes kind of light up when he sees a squirrel in the vineyard.